So next on the reporting side, it really is all about kind of the visuals here. So a lot of the focus on visuals, making content better, more performant, more interactive, and then taking all of the content that people are building and proactively recommending it more effectively to your users. So the kind of anecdote that I use here is at Looker, I think we have something like 25,000 pieces of content in our internal instance. And that creates a kind of a curation challenge for a new employee to understand what's good, what's bad. And we need to make that easy for everyone. So on the visual analytics side, so the first one is just better, native visualizations. And so again, Ariel showed you some of the early things that we're working on there, the stacked bar charts with line overlays. But it's really things like color by, size by, trellising, labels, tooltips. Those are actually all things that we're hoping to knock out, hopefully by the end of the year, but maybe slightly into early next year. But the idea is really just giving you charts that look awesome, that have all of the configurability that you're expecting from a lot of other visualization tools. So the next piece is just continuing to expand that custom visualization library. So again, we have that library where you guys can go pull all the different types of visualizations that we have and kind of keep extending what's available in the instance. We do want to keep building out that library and making the long tail of visualization kind of out there for you guys before we go build them natively into the product. And then kind of Dylan gave you a demo of these sort of micro applications that you can build with visualization. And that's something that we want to continue to explore as well. So the next one is more interactive content. And we did talk about this last year. And it's kind of still something that we're really committed to delivering on. But the first is just better filters in Looker. So rather than the completely generic starts with, ends with, kind of leave every possible opportunity to your customer, we want to just obviate what a user can do with the product. So if they can select 3 things, let's just show those 3 things as a button and let the user really interact with the content more easily. And if the object is more complex, let's provide a UI that's more custom tailored to that type of filter object. So giving you guys the power to put out content that is more interactive, easier to use, all of that good stuff. So the next piece, and this is, I've been a Looker user for almost 6 years. Tables have always been a challenge in Looker, and they are probably our most popular visualization. So continuing to develop out what tables can do in the product is something that we're looking to pick off kind of late this year, early into next year. And that's things like subtotals, front-end formatting, column widths, a lot of the things that you come to expect in Excel, but enabling those in the front end of Looker. So the plan here is to actually land a custom visualization that's doing a lot of those things. So again, get it in your hands really quickly, and then follow that up by completely rebuilding the core visualization. I left out transpose. That's like a super important one too. So making table visualizations better in Looker. And then the next one, which again, really just hopefully makes our content more interactive, is this idea of more powerful alerting in Looker. So the ability to take a time series and say, send this to me if it's up by or down by a couple standard deviations, or a certain amount, or if it just exceeds or is below a value. So making the scheduler more interactive, and this is just kind of a natural user experience for a user using data. And then the last piece on the analytics side is really a lot around content in the system. So again, a lot of us love Looker for the explore behavior and the ability to get really deep. A lot of the users that we're working with really are engaging with Looker at a much higher level. They're working with all the content that we're building. They're discovering dashboards and content and things like that. And frankly, we haven't made it easy enough for people to do that. So we're spending a lot of time thinking about how to get the right content in front of the right people and give them seeds to get in deeper into Looker. A lot of what we're focused on is this ability to deliver more curated content experiences. And an example of that was a couple years ago, we actually announced the launch of favorites in the product. So the ability to pin content that you go visit more frequently. And that's actually one of the more frequent ways that people visit content in Looker now. But there's no way for a group of people to collaborate on something like that in Looker. So the ability to form temporal groups where you can actually pin content, group it together, and actually provide more context, we think will open up the ability to understand how groups of people are using the product and kind of really more actively curate that experience. And that also means discovering, I just joined a company, I'm a marketer, what are people in marketing using? Let's give people an ability to understand what's going on and kind of start them down the path of understanding all the data that's available. And then we're exploring other ideas like the ability to look up an individual user. I remember I was on site with a customer. We were trying to understand how a department used the product. And we said, let's go look at person in that organization. And Looker just hasn't made it easy to go understand how different people are using the product so you can contextualize your experience. So the last piece is this idea of platform and extensibility and kind of going beyond the frame of Looker. So the first thing is this really continuing to develop the Action Hub and integration. So for all the folks that aren't using Action Hub, I don't blame you. It can be a little bit hard to get set up. But what we've seen is that when people start really deeply embedding where data is going into the product, it really enables end users to more actively consume what's going on. So we set up actions for delivering data out of Looker into Marketo. And it actually creates more usage of the product as you set up things like that. So really continuing to expand Action Hub integration and API coverage. So here's a few. We would love to hear from you guys around what types of integrations make the most sense and where people are using actions. Obviously, things like OAuth unlock a lot more opportunity for things like permission Slack rooms and Google Docs and really all of the services that you need to log in. But we want to continue building this out and really making it easy for you to push data into other services. And then API coverage we've talked about, but what I kind of want to add in there is we're trying to understand what we can do bundling these APIs together to really enable new tooling. So we've actually set up teams internally that have started building API-based tools to help really accelerate the types of things that you can do in the instance. So I wasn't at Hack Day, but I've heard of some pretty interesting things around cleaning up the LookML model. We want to continue trying to take advantage of all the API coverage that we're building so that people can really get deeper and kind of do more interesting things administrating. Continuing to build out our embedded product is another piece that we're working on. So at the highest level, we launched custom embed themes. We do want to continue to pluck off those pieces of customization that are important that we might have missed. So buttons is an example that we haven't quite hit yet that we want to get to. But again, we'd love feedback here on how we can make simple embedding easy to let people just have those iframes feel native in the product and integrate with what your users are expecting in your own service. So the next piece, so this is an example of custom filters, but don't need to talk about that. The next piece is localization. So we are going through the process of localizing the product back to front. So we've actually landed the ability to deliver localized results through the model. We're continuing to work our way through the product to a fully localized product, kind of mid Q1, hoping to have a few larger languages, French, German, Japanese, and then kind of extending through there into a much longer list of localized Looker products. And that's localized data is available, the localized Looker front end, but really supporting your users across the globe. And then the last piece are kind of continuing to take all of these pieces and build full user experiences. So Elena actually gave a couple demos of what event analytics could look like in Looker and does look like, what marketing analytics looks like in Looker. We want to continue to understand, you guys gave us a lot of recommendations at the product wall, what types of use cases we can build super specific user experiences for. And I think kind of looking into late 2019, I think we want to get to a place where we're starting to open up those experiences for you guys to build things that we haven't fully thought this out, but how they get shared and things like that. But we do want to enable end users to have super specific experiences that are tailored to specific problems. So going back to that pyramid of users, in the future, having large swaths of users that don't know or care whether Looker is underneath serving results, that feel like they're working with a marketing app to solve a marketing problem. Those are the types of experiences that we want to be unlocking. And that's kind of really where we are going with the product. So this is sort of the microest version of an application in a visualization, but building those together into much more complete experiences. Like those are the things that we hope to be opening up.